Om Apyayantu mamangani Vakpranaschakshushrotramato balamindriyani cha sarvani Sarvam brahma upanishadam Maham brahma nirakuryam Mama brahma nirakarot Anirakaranamastu Anirakaranam mestu Taratmani nirateya upanishatsu dharmaste Mai santu te mai santu Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. May our bodies be filled with strength, peace, and joy. May our eyes, our ears, our senses, our energy, our life, all be sweet with divine harmony. All, whatever we perceive, is verily divine. May we never cease to see God. May God never forsake us. May we be absorbed more and more in divine being, and may the glories of self-realization be manifest in and through our life and mind. Om, peace, peace. Peace be unto us all. I thank the Vedanta Society for giving me this opportunity to share a few ideas with you this morning. And our topic is what makes a religion universal. This is not an unknown topic to Vedantins. But I feel it's a topic that we need to explore a little bit more deeply as Vedantins. We accept all religions as true, and now and then we need to ask ourselves, do we really accept all religions as true and equal? Or do somehow we hold ourselves slightly above? So what I would like to do this morning is explore this idea in the light of the teachings of Swami Vivekananda based on the experiences of his guru, Sri Ramakrishna. Now, you know, all of the major religions of the world, be it Buddhism, Hinduism, Christianity, Judaism, Islam, Taoism, etc., they all have a unique contribution to the religious thought and practice worldwide. And in the Bhagavad Gita, Sri Krishna states there that in whatever way people worship me, they, O Partha, are in my way. They're worshiping me, and I fulfill their desires accordingly. It is my path, O Partha, that men tread in all ways. Now, as Vedantins, do we accept this? And do we practice it? Do we accept all different views of approaching the truth as true and valid? Or do we tend to grade them in a hierarchy? This is higher, this is lower. This is better, this is less. So let's try to understand from the basis of Sri Ramakrishna's experience what this really means. You know, all of these major religions have tremendous power inherent in them. According to Swamiji, they're a living force. That is why they have survived for so long. And all of these major world religions have come out of ancient cultures. We will not find religions of this depth coming out of cultures that are relatively new, so to speak. Of this depth and of this power. What gives all of these religions its power? It's not the creed. It's the realization, the experience of those who are adherents to these various creeds or religions, how we tend to look at it. But nevertheless, all religions have a valid place. And they continue to influence people, millions and millions of people worldwide. And we can see this spread of religion even today, especially in certain organized religions like Buddhism and Islam, for various reasons. Now, if we consider the concerns or the issues that religion addresses, setting aside social and political overtones, we can say that most religions, I'm talking about organized religions now, have some sort of a concept of the soul. And what is the soul? The soul is that immortal, eternal essence, immaterial essence in our being. However that religion conceives of a divine element within us. And each religion has its own way of interpreting this. And some religions, such as Buddhism, they do not speak in terms of soul directly, as we understand it. The other thing that most organized religions address is an afterlife. What happens to the soul when we die? And of course, this is an overwhelming and very preoccupying question for human beings because mortality is an issue in our life. So thoughtful people are not satisfied with just accepting that perhaps this is the end of it. So this is basically what religion is looking at. Then, in addition to this, there's the idea of moral and ethical behavior, that these codes that govern our behavior. In Vedanta, we call it dharma. So all religions have some moral code. It varies, of course, but it governs the behavior, and almost entirely all religions are based on love and compassion. So it's how we interact with others, how we treat others, how we view the world. From Vedanta point of view, we would say there's three elements. There's the world, the individuals, myself, God, the concept of God. This is how Vedanta views it. In addition to that, every organized religion has what we might call a soul force. And what do I mean by soul force? It's a specific, unique characteristic that's manifest in that religion. Say, for example, in Buddhism, we have the idea of compassion and nonviolence. It's very central to the teachings of Buddhism. And then in Christianity, we have the idea, say, of charity, loving one's neighbor as oneself. In Judaism, we have the idea of the law, God's testament. Taoism, we have the idea of the balance and the harmony in the universe. In Vedanta and Hinduism, we have this idea of oneness of existence. So the point is that all of the major religions have this world view and the view of the individual. All of them are valid, but they're different. That's the main thing to remember. In addition, each religion has its own philosophy, mythology, rituals. I mean, philosophy we can think of as like a blueprint for our life. So it embodies the principles of that religion, and it's a guideline for how we should live, outlines the goal of our life and how we should get there. Some religions have less emphasis on metaphysical doctrines or philosophies. They have more emphasis on creeds and dogmas, which preempt rational thinking, and they're usually based on more fixed creeds. But basically, that's the idea. And of course, mythology centers around mythological figures and legends and so on, usually embodying the principles in a concrete form that are expressed in the philosophy or the thought. And the rituals, ceremonies and formalities, certain spiritual practices. For example, in our tradition, we have meditation, we have japa, we have worship, we have study, swadhyaya, etc. In addition to this, there are revelations. So all of these revelations, these direct experiences of the divine, are embodied in various religions in different ways, and they're expressed and contained in the holy book of that religion. So we have the Bible, and we have the Quran, and we have the Zen Avesta, the Tripitakas of the Buddhist, etc. In Vedanta, we have the Vedas. We don't consider the Vedas as a book. It's continual revelation going on. And then there are those who embody or who have realized these specific aspects of divinity. And we may classify them as incarnations or prophets or saints and so on, or rishis, munis, sages, those personalities who have actually seen the truths that come down in the scriptures and their teachings. Now we have to keep in mind that all of these religions are influenced by particular language, by the customs, by the traditions of the society, etc. Now this is about organized religion. But what about from an individual's point of view? Each individual's point of view. So religion serves many of our needs. Why do we turn to religion? Why do people need religion? So, from an individual's point of view, there can be mundane reasons. There can be very worldly reasons. A person may have the hope of fulfilling desires or averting some kind of a problem, going to heaven, or at least staying out of hell. In some way, it serves a particular need. And that need extends to searching for the meaning for life and also for communing with the divine or becoming one with the divine. So all of these needs are met by religions, and we should not decry any of them, because all human beings are on different rungs of the ladder, so to speak. So religion serves all of these very valid needs of human beings. And then there are some people who are born in religion. They just accept it. They never question it. They never go deeper into it, and that's the end of it. But there are those of us, I feel, spiritual seekers, who are not satisfied. So we want to expand our search. Why? Because we have existential questions that we're dealing with. We are mortal, and we want to know, is this it? Or is there something else? Is this an end point in my life? I spend all of my life and all of my energy, and then I die. My Swami Vivekananda once said, if I thought that's all there was, I'd kill myself. So there has to be something more beyond this world as we know it, and that's one of the reasons for the search. And the other reason, which is connected to it, is the changing nature of this world. Everything changes. We can't hold on to anything, no matter how beautiful, how successful we are, etc. When the time comes and we leave the body, all of this gets left behind. So for thoughtful people, we want to find a little deeper reason, a more valid reason for existence. So all of these factors in religion are powerful influences on the aim, the aspirations, and the actions of humanity. And we can't deny the validity of any of them. And when they're combined together, the result presents itself as the truth of God or religion as that particular religion views it. And that's okay, that's fair enough. You know, it's like the chameleon in Ramakrishna's example in the gospel. So this lizard-like creature changes color. Sometimes it's yellow, and sometimes it's blue, and sometimes it's green. Various reasons physiologically that it changes color. So he gives this example. There was an old man that lived at the foot of a tree. People started a fight. This creature's yellow. No, he's green. No, he's blue. He's red. And he was like, okay. He's all of that. He's all of these colors. So Sri Ramakrishna's conclusion is that the perception varies, but the chameleon remains the same. Now this is a very simple example, and it embodies an extremely profound truth. And to really understand what Sri Ramakrishna is saying here requires sadhana and meditation. It's not that easy to see the truth in a form that it may not resonate, or we may not perceive it in that way. So that's the point. We have to expand our awareness to be able to really appreciate from the depths the truth when it comes in a form that may not immediately resonate with us if we're going to call ourselves Vedantins. So this is the snag. With a few noble exceptions, most organized religions, and even individuals within a religion, feel that their doctrines or their teachings alone embody the truth. So their revelation is correct, and everyone else somehow has slightly missed the mark. They've taken a wrong turn. Again, Sri Ramakrishna puts this very simply. Everybody thinks his watch has the right time. Okay, so this morning I look on my phone, and the time has changed. So it says very nicely, in Tiruvannamalai it's 5:23 p.m. And in San Francisco it's 5 o'clock, and in New York now it's 8 o'clock. Well, which one of these is true? They're all true. It is 5:23 in Tiruvannamalai, and it is 5 o'clock in San Francisco, and it's 8 o'clock in New York. Can I say, no, it's not 8 o'clock. It's 5 o'clock. Okay. So this is what dogma says. No, it has to be 8 o'clock. Can't be 5 o'clock. This is not what an incarnation or a prophet or a sage or a rishi says. Religion is an intensely emotional issue. There's been nothing like religion to have the greatest amount of bloodshed, social hatred, persecution, prejudice. I was mentioning to my host this morning, when Swamiji said at the Parliament of Religions, I fervently believe that the bell that tolled this morning will be the end of all fanaticism and persecution by the sword or the pen. Has it happened? It hasn't happened. No matter how fervently Swamiji believed, it hasn't happened. And there's reasons for that. On the other hand, there hasn't never been such a strong force of compassion and love and upliftment as religion. So one of the main reasons for this difference, this strife, this hatred, argumentation, fighting, even within our own religion, is people think differently from others. Right? We think differently. So somehow we feel, if somebody doesn't think exactly as I think, it makes my vision of truth a little bit less. So we're a little insecure there. And this is what I mean by an intentionally emotional issue. Jesus was the only Son of God. Who said that? Jesus never said that. Jesus never said that. Why should everybody think just as I do in religion? When it comes to science or literature or the arts, we all think differently. This makes this world a wonderful place. But when it comes to religion, we lose all rationality. We don't want to think about it. We don't want to question it. Everybody should think as I think. That's the implication. Now, one of our late Swamis, Swami Shokananda in San Francisco, was giving a talk once. To illustrate this, Swami said, if Buddha and Jesus and Muhammad, Ramakrishna, they were all in the same room together, they would embrace each other. If their followers are in the same room together, they start fighting. And we can add not only fighting, they start throwing things at each other, right? So it's obvious where the problem lies. It doesn't lie in the revelations of the great saints. ... Swami Vivekananda said, all who have actually attained any real religion, Swamiji said, they never wrangle over the form in which the different religions are expressed. And please remember, as we're discussing this morning, this is in the language of different religions, it's true, but even within our own religion and our own philosophy, we have to bear this in mind. Swamiji says, they know that the life of religions, all religions are the same, and consequently they have no quarrel with anybody because he does not speak the same tongue. This is coming right from Sri Ramakrishna. So the language of the soul is one. The language of nations, of people, is many. So the difference between the religions of the world is one of expression, not of content. So the implication to such a conclusion is that at the heart of every religion is this universal truth. Now, all people are seeking that in every religion, no matter how exalted or how primitive. That's what we're seeking. Swamiji says the murderer murders because they have actually, they're prompted within to find bliss. Everyone wants bliss, peace, and happiness and fulfillment in life. Everyone wants this. We should not deny that basic universal wish to anyone. This is the basic motivation for humanity. But it gets distorted for various reasons. But that's the underlying motivation. All beings want to be happy. If you provide the proper education, the proper circumstances, the proper opportunities for various levels of society that may not be progressing in the way that we think they should progress or the way they feel they should progress, they lift up. It's been proven. Now, all kinds of experiments have happened. And socially, it's been very successful. When you give the respect, when you validate people, individuals, for what they are, and we see them as divine, then a different reaction comes. So we tend to proclaim one thing and behave in another way. Sri Ramakrishna came for this purpose, and he expressed in his life in simple terms, very simple language, the profound experiences that were revealed to him, and the possibility that all religions, if they're practiced properly, can lead to the same goal. And that's what Swami Vivekananda was born to preach. Of course, the divinity of the soul and the equality of all views of religion, not just one view. So, during the years of Sri Ramakrishna's sadhana, as most of you know, Sri Ramakrishna would seek the company of any spiritual seeker that he heard that was genuine and in search of God. It didn't matter what religion they were, how educated they were, what philosophy they propounded. That didn't matter. What mattered to Sri Ramakrishna is what's your experience. And of course, that's what happened with Swami Vivekananda. Sir, have you seen God? Yes, I see him more clearly than I see you. It's the first time Swamiji ever heard such a statement. When he went to Tagore could not answer that question from an experiential level. He had to say, oh, you have the eyes of a yogi. That's not what Swamiji asked him. What do my eyes look like? He asked him, have you seen God? Tagore couldn't answer that, Sri Ramakrishna could. So, Thakur, Sri Ramakrishna, we have to remember he was a universal man, and his mind was completely open and receptive to truth wherever he found it. So he never confined it to a particular system. It has to be Advaita, Vishishtadvaita, Dvaita. It's Chidabhasa theory, it's Vivartavada. What difference does it make? He went to the level of experience. He took it a step further, which is very important, I feel, for us as Vedantins to understand. Sri Ramakrishna was impelled from within to actually find out for himself the essence of all religions. That sounds sort of simple. It wasn't a theoretical experiment. It wasn't an academic interfaith interest that Sri Ramakrishna had. It wasn't on the intellectual level. It's extraordinary what Sri Ramakrishna did. His approach was not that of an outsider practicing other religions, just with a sympathetic attitude. Oh, everybody's going along the same path. He completely identified with the spiritual content of each religion on its terms, through its methods, and discovered the real inner harmony from the standpoint of an adherent of that religion. That's where Sri Ramakrishna found the harmony, not here, on the lips or in the head. So it's a big story. You know the story of Sri Ramakrishna's sadhana. When he took it up, all other samskaras in his mind, all of the Hindu conceptions, everything he had, of course he had that kind of a mind, gone. He couldn't even enter the temple of Mother Kali. Whole being was absorbed in that particular way of thought. And that's how he uncovered the essence of all religions as true. Swami Vivekananda said, I fought with my master for 6 long years. Swamiji had a hard time because Swamiji, in the relative play, was working at that point to the level of the mind, to the level of thought, to the level of ideas. And Sri Ramakrishna took him step by step. You don't accept my Divine Mother, this is your problem. And we know Swamiji ultimately accepted the Divine Mother. And we all know the example that Sri Ramakrishna gave. Again, it's profound. It's like the chameleon. We repeat it. And he says, well, you go to the Ganga and you gather a clear, colorless substance and you call it aqua, or you call it pani, or you call it water, whatever you want to call it. But the substance is the same and the name varies. And we need this. It's actually a meditation. With Sri Ramakrishna, it sounds so simple that we discard it or we just pass over it. But therein lies a very profound truth. And therein lies the basis of a lot of argumentation and dispute. So in the heart of each religion, in the center, there is only one reality. And that is truth, however we define that truth. Again, at the Parliament, Swamiji says, all religions represent so many different attempts of the human soul to grasp and realize the infinite, each determined by his own particular set of circumstances. So in whatever way we want to designate this reality, so some people will call the reality God, okay, fine. Some the prophet, some Yahweh, Christ, Krishna, Buddha, Allah, Brahman, Shunya, Nirvana. What difference does it make? What name we call it? That the name and form are within the realm of Maya. What name we call it doesn't matter. What matters is the content. That's what matters. So the same reality is represented by so many names and forms. In spite of their apparent contradictions and their external differences, they are channels that lead seekers to the same endpoint. This is how Sri Ramakrishna harmonized religions. So the differences really result and the conflict comes at the mental and emotional levels, not at the spiritual, experiential level. No matter how divergent the various religions are from one another. So actually world religions, or even within our own religions, they're not contradictory. They're actually complementary to one another. They are apparently contradictory because the same truth filters through varying circumstances and different philosophies, different natures. They become contradictory when we identify the spiritual content of that school of thought, etc., with a particular religious view, etc. So we mix up and we identify the content with the conduit. And here we're not talking about external forms such as books and language and rituals and ceremonies that often polarize and politicize religion. That's not what we're talking about. So they're complementary and they're supplementary to each other in several ways, and I'd like to mention 2. And I'll just give a very kind of common example. Say you have a great big apple pie, okay? And you take a piece of that pie, and you think of that piece as a piece of the universal truth. Okay, so each religion has something, or each school of thought has something to contribute to humanity. So this variety of viewpoints, it enriches the world and fulfills the needs of different peoples. As I said in the beginning, we're all on the various steps of the ladder of evolution. We're not all on the same level, so to speak. And people who have needs at one level, you cannot discount that need. They may not be, in a position or ready to understand something that's presented in a certain way, and it's in a very simple way they can understand that. Sri Ramakrishna came to say, these are all valid, they're all true. The problem comes is when we take that piece of the pie, we consider that we've taken the whole pie. We can't limit truth like that. Truth is infinite. So we have to remember that each religion or each school of thought is embodying, and you can say preaching, a particular point of view. A particular point of view toward the truth. And there's an example given in the Hindu scriptures of the star Arundhati. You probably know that parable. And so I guess before the bride is, or to-be bride, she's taken and she's going to be shown a particular star. And they say, okay, here is this, look at this, over here, look at that. So he like this, she's led. And that's basically what we're doing. We're looking at various pointers to the same truth. But we cannot say, my pointer to the truth, this is it, this is the only one. So we do ourselves an injustice, especially as Vedantins, if we become exclusive in our religious beliefs or our philosophy. To keep our mind open. Truth is infinite. It's an important point. So all of these approaches to religion, organized religions, they're all forces working for the good of humanity. Now we're talking about the good apples, not the bad ones. There's an inherent spiritual power in all genuine religions and in all hearts of genuine seekers. There's a power there. So no matter how thick the layer may appear, the spiritual content remains untouched. The second way that religions and different schools of thought complement each other is that because truth is infinite, as I keep saying, so there's multiple ideas and approaches and concepts can simultaneously be true. And that, again, is a very difficult thing to understand and accept because the human mind's just not hardwired in that way. It's very hard. And that was M's nemesis when he first met Sri Ramakrishna. And Sri Ramakrishna asked him, do you believe in God with form or without form? You know this, it's in the gospel, practically the second page. Oh, I prefer God without form. That's fine. But don't say that others who worship a form is false. And M was like, this was something entirely new to him. How can both be true at the same time? How can black and white be true at the same time? So that was one of the occasions that his ego received a good blow. So these apparently contradictory truths can coexist because all contradictions are resolved in the infinite. The contradictions essentially exist at the mental level, intellectual level, not at the experiential level. Otherwise, it goes against logic and reason on one level. Truth never goes against logic or reason. It transcends it, it supersedes it. Otherwise, divinity as we conceive of it becomes a measurable object, just like everything else in the material universe, everything else that we can perceive through our five senses. So as the Katha Upanishad says, it gives two Sanskrit words, samada amada, which means two apparently contradictory things can be true at the same time. And if you study the Isha Upanishad, you will see there, 7th or 8th verse, it says, he is near, he is far. He is inside this, he's outside all of this. He's this and he's that. How can he be near and far at the same time? He's beyond near and far. That's the point. So we have these parameters, these words, and in our minds they're associated in different ways. I mean, the infinite is not a mathematical commodity. The infinite is a word. To try to express something that has no limits, no measurability, beyond our sense perception. So we have to give it a word. This is that we can't work with anything else except our human minds. And our minds deal with ideas and words, etc., etc. It's all connected. The idea and the thought, the word, they're all expressing the same thing. And what Sri Ramakrishna is saying, this is the problem, is we get caught up in words. And then we start measuring things and categorizing things. This is high, this is low, this is like this is like that. And he's like, go to the experiential level and these things are resolved. And it's Mona, you're silent. You don't argue anymore. I like to think of it, in the news now, there are all these reports about Mars, life on Mars, et cetera, and they're finding these fantastic high-resolution photographs that the various, robots and satellites are making. So when you see this, for example, you see different photographs of Mars. Swamiji uses the example of the sun, but this is relevant to us now. You can see it online. You can see it. You'll see flat valleys and craters, and maybe water, existed here, and nitrogen there, and is there life? And so you see all these. When you're looking at these little bitty segments of Mars, you don't think this isn't Mars. It's a photograph representing the entire planet. But we see little segments of it. Does it make it less valid? It doesn't make it less valid. We're seeing a part of it. So similarly, we see part of truth. And then our mind wants to pigeonhole it and say, that's it. I'm sorry, folks, that's not it, according to the rishis. They say there's a bigger picture. So then, briefly, what do we mean then by a universal religion? What is a religion, universal religion? How does Vedanta view this? What do we mean by it? So I think the best way to approach it from my point of view, let's first look at what a universal religion is not. So a universal religion does not mean that there's one religion. Swami Vivekananda in California, he came to California, Southern California in 1899. He came to San Francisco, Northern California, 1900. Especially in Northern California, Swamiji, in the complete works you'll find, he gave a number of lectures on the ideal of a universal religion, is Vedanta the future religion, etc. If you read closely, you will see, I won't second-guess Swamiji's conclusion. You can read it for yourself, what he says. So, universal does not mean one religion, one doctrine, one philosophy. There can never be just one philosophy or one mythology or one set of rituals. It's impossible to make everyone squeeze into the same mold. It'd be like trying to get everybody in your family to wear the same pair of shoes. I want to save money, so I'm going to have one pair of shoes and we're all going to wear them. Well, what if my foot's a 5 and yours is a 9? It doesn't work. If we all thought alike, there wouldn't be any thought to think, right? And as Swamiji said, it would be massively boring. If anyone was a proponent of variety with Swami Vivekananda. But we have to understand Swamiji's teaching. What does it mean, unity and diversity? We read this, we hear it all the time, but what does it mean? Do we really think about what it means? So sameness and unity are different. So thoughtful people enjoy the clash of thought. And Swami Vivekananda encouraged that. He said it. Can you imagine? He fought with Sri Ramakrishna 6 long years. He got Sri Ramakrishna so upset that he went to Mother Kali and said, this is what he's saying. Swamiji had a tremendous power of argumentation. as it were, Ramakrishna's, Then he comes back and he said, "You rogue. I'm never going to listen to you again." This is what Mother said. But Swamiji had that power. So thoughtful people, they enjoy the stimulus of the cross current of various ideas. That's what awakens thought. And that's what Swamiji's trying to do, awaken us. Arise, awake. Stop not. Wake up. As I mentioned in the Gita class the other night, that was Swamiji's favorite shloka in the Gita, comes in the 2nd chapter. Partha, get up. This faint-heartedness, this timidity does not befit you. You're a hero. Stand up. Swamiji quoted that again and again. Realize your true self. Don't rely on this and that and this person, that person, in that sense. I mean, I'm not talking about the seers or the rishis. Stand up. Figure it out for yourself. So obviously this is not the way of a universal religion. Every mind is different, and as I mentioned before, what to speak of differences between religion. Even in the same religion, there are differences. None of us has the same religion, no matter what religion it is. We all have our own religion, and that's what Swami Vivekananda wanted, because each individual has to grow according to their nature. And the truth, however it comes to you, has to resonate with your inner being. Advaita may resonate totally with your being. And a ritualistic form of religion may not resonate with you. Fine. You follow that. For me, I'd rather do worship. Fine, you follow that. Problem comes is we try to turn everything according to how we think of it. So we have to give scope and room and respect for everyone to genuinely approach, I'm saying, religion in their way. That's a universal. That's heading towards a universal religion. Without watering it down, without dumbing it down, because we hold on to the content. And the content is based on experience, not on words. So we can't all march in unison down the same path. It doesn't work. It's never going to work. Swamiji encouraged there be as many sects as there are human beings. We all need our own path. Any religion has to speak to the language of the soul, or it doesn't work for that person. Some years ago, there was an article that illustrates Swamiji's idea of each person having their own religion. And it's based on a group of people called the Sahrawis, and they're Arab. They're nomads of the Western Sahara, I think west of Morocco or something. Now, they're bound together by their Yemeni ancestry and dialect. They're Muslims, but they're most unusual. They differ from other Muslims in that they don't give so much importance to Islamic community. They don't think you have to have a fancy place to worship God or commune with God. And they also feel that each person has a personal relationship with the divine. They put it in terms of creator. They are actually welcoming to other religions. It's most unusual. And one observer reported in this article that there's almost a continuous presence of church groups or individuals from different faiths from all over the world in their camps. Now, these are desert nomads, right? Acceptance is not something new to them. Their leaders encourage it. Not tolerance, acceptance. In their society, the center prevails, not the fringe. So they have respect for others, whether it's for their faith or their ideas. Now, would you call this a primitive society or a cultured society? See? What would you call that? There's another example of this universality. There was a woman professor. She traveled through the deserts of Syria and Egypt, and she was interviewing the wisdom makers. Wisdom makers are these holy men. They're Muslim clerics, some of them, Coptic archbishops, some of them, Sufi mystics. And this woman, this professor wrote a book about her interviews and impressions of these wisdom makers. Again, very simple people. And the title of her book is Men in Black Dresses, A Quest for the Future Among Wisdom Makers of the Middle East. Now, what she found in her interviews is quite encouraging and enlightening. She discovered that across the board, amongst these various faiths of the wisdom makers, there was a pragmatism and an unexpected inclusiveness, including the idea that many paths from different religions lead to the same goal. That's exactly what we hear from the lips of Sri Ramakrishna. This is coming from the Middle East. Now, although the perspective of these religious elders may seem at odds with the region's conflicts and fundamentalism, the author says they all represented a broader thought. She gives an example. This is a quote. If you have the bell curve, they're the whole center of the bell. This is pretty extraordinary, I think. These are people who are enormously influential and guide the majority of their population. So, unanimously, these holy men told her that wisdom comes from the heart. Inclusiveness is key. Now, what this indicates to me is, in spite of the tragic happenings in the Middle East and elsewhere, especially in the name of religion, is that this idea at the heart of all religions is this universal truth. I mean, Ramakrishna and Swami Vivekananda are tremendous power, and they've unleashed this power for centuries and centuries to come. And it has a wide influence. Whether we deliberately preach it, we go on the internet, whatever we do, that's fine. That power is going to work irrespective of how we propagate or think we are propagating the message. And it works in a way, as Swami Vivekananda said, I'm a voice without a form. So Swamiji's power is working. Thakur's power is working. And this, to me, is a very good example of it. You know, Krishna says in the Gita, it's like a necklace. I'm the thread that runs through all religion, runs through all the hearts of spiritual seekers. I'm the thread that runs through all of this cosmic necklace. What does Krishna mean by that? And we're all part of that cosmic necklace. And though we may vastly differ in our particulars, we all have the same common goal. As I said a few minutes ago, maybe I don't have the transcendental goal. All human beings want happiness, don't they? Peace, joy, freedom. Who doesn't want that? Everybody wants that. This is what we're all striving for. Okay, another thing a universal religion is it's not eclectic. Okay, it's not a little bit of this and a little bit of that. That's what we tend to do in, quote, modern times, New Age religion. Little of this, little of that. All half digested, mashed potato religion, as Swami Pravrajika used to say. You just mush it all together. No, it's not like that. You know, here's another thought for reflection from Swami Vivekananda. I've puzzled over this for years and years and years. What does Swamiji mean? In the final address at the Parliament of Religions, Swamiji compares a religion to a seed. When it's planted and it's nurtured, it grows on its own. And he says, Christian's not to become a Hindu, Hindu's not to become a Buddhist, etc., etc., etc. You don't have to change your religion. Now, if Swamiji felt this is the path, Vedanta's the way, Vedanta's the future religion, then he might have said, okay, he didn't say that. God forbid, he said, a Christian to become a Hindu? Why? You've got it right there in your own religion. This is the implication, is it not? Swamiji says each must assimilate the spirit of others and yet preserve his or her own individuality. So the essential individual character and flavor of each religion, each path, each philosophy should be retained, while simultaneously touching the center of all the others. That's what Swamiji meant. I mean, this is my conclusion, having thought about it. That's what Swamiji came at the Parliament of Religions. To me, that's his central message. It's our attitude, it's our approach. Truth is truth. And we have to all come from it different angles, because we're not all the same. We can't march in unison. Advaita does not mean marching in unison. Advaita does not mean sameness. Oneness is there. Oneness is a word. Advaita, not dual. Dvaita. These are words. And what are they words for? They are basically indicating, pointers, our perception of reality. One reality, and we're going to see it in different ways. And we give it different names. And we approach it through different schools of thought. They all have validity. So this is another important point about being universal. The reason I'm mentioning this is I feel not that we're in a world religions class here. We need, I feel, to understand what it means to be really universal. To be true Vedantans, or true whatever, our religious faith or lack of religion, whatever it is. Truth seekers, let's put it that way. We don't have to give it a name. But we should understand what it means. It takes a lot of thought in meditation to really understand what it means. It's not an interfaith something, because you can argue on every single point. You can argue with Ramakrishna, with Swamiji. No, they're not the same. And I mean, you can say, Swamiji's basically saying in his opening address, everyone's proceeding down the same path and more or less the same path to the same goal, and et cetera, et cetera. And clearly what we see is people are not going towards the same goal when we look at the superficial side of religion or various religions. So we discount them. We need to look into the heart of that religion. We need to look at the good apples. So, in summary, I feel we can say that the components of a universal religion encompass what we have just been discussing for the last almost 50 minutes. And we should base it upon our experience, the recognition of not only our innate divinity, but everybody else's. Give them the freedom to express it in the way they need to express it. Swamiji said, this is a quote, if there is one universal truth in all religions, Swamiji said, I place it here, in experiencing God. Experiencing of the divine. Let's put our attention there. What am I? Have I transformed my being? What is my experience? How do I relate to others? This is what Swamiji's saying. So here he's saying, I place it here in experience, not in what wonderful philosophy you can speak, how beautifully you can write, comparative religions. These are all fine. They all have their place. But the bottom line is, I place it here. Experience. So this unity and diversity, this is the plan of the universe, we know that. And in that unitive spiritual experience, in that dimension, we're one. And at the same time in the world as we know it, we are different. We experience differences all the time. They will always be there. We're all moving towards the center. And when we eventually meet in the center, all the differences will melt away. That's the bottom line. And the other thing I think we should remember for a universal religion is that it's scientific. This is the sign of the times, spirit of the times. And Swamiji is a wonderful representation of that. Think. Don't just accept something. Think it through. Is it reasonable? Is it rational? Truth never shies away from being examined. So it should be scientific. And the scientific method as we know it today involves what? So you may have a hypothesis. You experiment, right? You experiment, you form a theory, and so on. Then you go on and on with experimentation to verify that truth. The same thing in religion. So this is what Swamiji and Ramakrishna are putting before us. Verify that truth. Don't just accept it because I said so, he said so, she said so. Find out for yourself. Is it true or not? Because what difference does it make if it's true for you and not for me? It doesn't have anything to do with my life. It's just words. Do we want to live in the realm of words? No, we want to live in a realm of experience. It has to be real to me. If it's not real to you, if it doesn't touch your life, it doesn't have any meaning. So this having an open mind, a questioning mind, examining things, this clash of thoughts, all of these things help to break open our preconceived ideas and open us to the possibility of the spiritual dimension within us. And as the wisdom makers say, it should be all-inclusive. Just because I'm this or I'm that or I follow this philosophy, let us remember that it's all-inclusive. It's like a big umbrella, and we're all under that umbrella. My way is not superior to your way. So it should be liberal. And the basis of liberalism is that. We're open. We don't tolerate it, we're open. So Ramakrishna says, as long as I live, so long do I learn. What didn't he know? But he exposed himself to truth wherever he found it. No, let me go and hear what he has to say, or she has to say. And look at all the various gurus that he had, starting with the Brahmani. So many teachers Thakur had. Even a real universal mind with Sri Ramakrishna. So we should be open to looking at things from different angles. At the same time, as Swamiji said at the Parliament of Religions, we stick to our what resonates. That's how I would rather put it, as opposed to a belief or something like that. What resonates with my soul? What makes me open up inside? What expands my consciousness? What is it that resonates within me? That's part of a universal religion. And then we begin to see that actually differences become more incidental and they're less prominent. And that's how we can accept other people and other ways of thought. When differences become incidental, we don't deny them. They're there. If we try to deny them and apply, for example, Advaita to our everyday life and try to deny certain things, that never will work because that's not our reality. So we need to have this oneness. It's the truth. It's there. It's within us. It's within everyone. At the same time, there are differences, especially differences, obviously, at the mental level, and differences in spiritual experience, of course, on the way. But the differences at the mental level, where most of this conflict arises, becomes less and less and less important. It's there. We don't give importance to it. Also, a universal religion is democratic, as we understand democracy in its true sense. And that's what Swamiji said, no privilege for anyone. Truth belongs to all. It's not the exclusive possession of anyone mystic, anyone sage, anyone religion, no. You see, if we can embody these things in our own thinking and our life, what a freedom it is, what an expansion it is. We have nothing, that's the thing. Swamiji fought, that was his role. But look at Sri Ramakrishna. He never had quarrel with anyone. And people said they would come. I mean, some of the very strict Muslims at that time would come. They all felt that Sri Ramakrishna was their own because he didn't have that kind of differentiation in his being, in his mind. He was centered in the content. Everyone felt at home with him. He was a Hindu priest. And they felt no difference. Vedanta embodies these various components of universal religion, but Vedanta is surely not the formal religion for everyone. And that was the conclusion of Swamiji's lecture in San Francisco. Is Vedanta the future religion? That lecture's probably been debated, analyzed more than any of Swamiji's lectures, possibly. But if you go to the end of it, you can't find a conclusion. I have never been able to find Swamiji's bottom line conclusion, because there isn't one. That's what I think. So we can't march all in unison down the same path. Religious knowledge and experience culminated thousands of years ago with the experience of the rishis and the seers of these different religions. We're just reiterating the same truth in different language. Truth is truth. And I'll just close with a sentence from a letter that Swami Vivekananda wrote to a friend. Now remember, this is towards the end of Swamiji's life. His vision had opened. And Swamiji wrote to this person, whether we call it Vedantism, Advaitism, or any ism, the truth is that oneness is the only position from which one can look upon all religions and sects with love. I believe this is the religion of the future enlightened humanity. Thank you. Dyo shantirantariksham shanti prithvi shantirapa shantihi oshadhaya shantir Vanaspataya shantir Vishwe deva shantir Brahma shanti Sarvam shanti Shantireva shantihi Same shantireti Om Shantis Shantis Shanti. Peace is in heaven. Peace is in the sky. Peace is on the earth and in the waters. The herbs, the plants, and the trees are all full of peace. The gods are peaceful. Everything in the universe is pervaded by peace. May this eternal, universal peace enter our soul and being. Om, peace, peace. Peace be unto us all and to all beings everywhere.